Welcome, everyone. Thanks a lot for your patience here today. I want to talk over the next 30 minutes or so about our upcoming grants management solutions. So welcome to today's session, Charting the Future of Grants Management with Intelligence and Transparency. As I said, we're going to spend about 30 minutes talking. I understand that we are in the unenviable position of being in front of you and lunch, so we're going to try to be as brief as possible. But I do want to share a lot about the upcoming solution that we have in the grants management space that's now going to be built on the ServiceNow platform. So we've got a lot to cover. So I'm going to get right into it and just talk about, first and foremost, this solution is built on that ServiceNow platform, which really is the AI platform for government transformation. Really focusing on a series of AI agents to help transform all aspects of government missions. Really to help employees work seamlessly, coordinate government agencies, and really deliver that unique 360-degree view. So more about these AI agents. I think you've heard a lot throughout that keynote session this morning. Basically, these AI agents help modernize government agencies, right? Their AI agents not only are assisting actions within your agency, but they actually take action. And they're able to do this by orchestrating together to really deliver across key functionality and orchestrate the agency. On top of that, we have to use a lot of data in order to power these agents. And so with our workflow data fabric, it's able to stitch together and unify all the data that's needed to power these AI agents. And it's all in one simple, unified location. And then last but not least is our workflow, right? ServiceNow is a predominant workflow. And our workflow helps to stitch together these agents, again, to really deliver key end-to-end processes. All right? So with that, you can see I've got two speakers here with me today. I'd like to introduce them to you. I have Kai Amory on my far left. Kai is the Outbound Product Manager for Public Sector Digital Services. And to my immediate left is Sarah Espinosa, and she is our UX researcher for our Public Sector Digital Services team. And between the three of us, as I said, we're going to share a lot about our upcoming grants management solution. And so stay tuned. We've got a lot to cover. But before we get into our presentation, flashing kind of the prerequisite safe harbor notice. Our presentation is obviously going to contain a lot of forward-looking statements. We're going to be discussing a lot of new functionality and features. So please keep in mind that things could change. So be cautious in terms of your future purchasing decisions. All right, so with that, here's what we're going to be covering over the next 30 minutes. I'm going to obviously continue to kick things off here, talk a little bit more about public sector digital services if you're not familiar with it as a product, and what we have to offer in terms of prepackaged solutions. I'm then going to turn it over to Sarah, who's going to talk more about the way in which we'd approached our discovery process for this grants management solution. And then I'm going to finally turn it back over to Kai, who's going to provide an awesome demo for us and really highlight a lot of the new functionality that's going to be coming to life as part of this grants management solution. And then finally, I'll close some things out. Just want to talk a little bit more about some of the ways in which you can help shape the future of this grants management solution and some of the other products within public sector digital services. All right. So let's get into it. So first and foremost, I want to talk, like I said, about public sector digital services as a product itself. It really does intelligently enable government agencies, such as the ones you work for, to improve efficiency and just better overall coordinate amongst employees and other agencies. So we can, in order to do this, we certainly help with being able to scale, unlock employee productivity, and basically work in a secure environment so that we can maintain compliance. Just getting into a little bit greater detail about some of those prepackaged solutions that I talked about. Really what these are robust applications that really unlock value for a specific use case within a government agency. You can see here we've highlighted a variety of those solutions on the screen here. Everything from licensing and permitting to managing social assistance programs and beyond. But really, it's meant to integrate the various systems that you have today. And as I said, being able to coordinate across agencies and better integrate end-to-end workflows within your agency. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah now, who's going to chat a little bit more about the way in which we approached our discovery process to understand how we're thinking about our grants management solution. So, Sarah?
Thank you, Ryan. So I'm Sarah Espinosa, the user experience researcher for Public Sector Digital Services. It's great to be here today. And our team really values continuous learning and discovery, so I'm really excited to share with you how we applied that mindset to the grants management space. And the first thing that we learned when we stepped into grants management last year is just how important and complex this space is. So we have a few folks in the room here. Give me a show of hands. Who has touched a grant of any kind in the last couple years in your role? All right. We might have some folks who have set it up as system admins. Maybe you received funding or someone else that you work with, or you might be administering a grants yourself. Anyone, any of those here? All right, what are you doing for grants? How did you touch it? Okay, there we go. Yes, very important. So we do have some grants experience here in the room, and we all probably know that there are many important uses for grants across the spectrum in government. There's also a lot of variety in the types of grants that are out there in the world. But as we narrowed down from a product perspective, 3 really stood out to us: formula grants, competitive grants, and pass-through grants. We're starting with competitive grants today because they have a lot of the core workflows and some key challenges, like merit review, that were important to focus on right from the start. And we really wanted to make sure that we did our homework on this one, so that meant us all doing 3 core things. 1, we really deep dived into all of the grant process documentation that our federal agencies and all their partners created. 2, we really anchored on real-world use cases and organizations at the federal and state levels to make sure we were taking practical examples. And 3, we talked to people, a lot of people. So we really took some variety in this approach, and we're still talking to people today: grant program managers, grant management specialists, awardees, reviewers, and other types of experts. And when we talked to all of these people, one of the key things that we learned is that everyone in the grants world seemed to be facing some systemic challenges. I'm going to highlight a couple of those today. 1 is data fragmentation. You see data about grants in all sorts of places. Lots of spreadsheets, different systems, and even emails. And when you have data that's scattered all over the place, and you have even processes that are scattered all over the place, you end up with inevitably workflow bottlenecks. Maybe when you have to copy and paste something from one document to another, maybe you have to get deep into an email chain to find the record of a decision, or you might be swivel chairing between systems. And these issues together create problems for transparency and understanding status. You might really need to understand the status of all of your grant programs at a glance at any point in the life cycle, and that can be really hard to do today. And the other key thing we learned is that the grant space is very dynamic. You often have to respond to all sorts of changes: mission changes, policy changes, big world events like COVID relief. But when a system is hyper-customized and you have to go back to an admin or an architect possibly, or maybe the original person that set it up for you, it can be hard to make changes rapidly and respond to those. So instead, you start doing things like stepping out of the system, getting back to spreadsheets because they're faster, or using a process in a way that it wasn't intended. So do any of these challenges resonate with your organization? Yes? Okay, I see some head nods. Great to know. We're on the right track. And the other thing that we realize is when you're going to approach transformation in a system and you're really dealing with systemic issues like this, you have to think about the whole life cycle of your product when you're doing that. And so there are likely some grants management experts here in the room, but I am going to give a quick overview of how we're thinking about the life cycle just as a frame of reference for you all to go through our solution later. So you have 5 key phases. Some are one-time and some are recurring. So one time, hopefully, or rarely, is your system set up. That's when you're getting everything architected, configured. You get your grants.gov or SAM integration going, and then you're handing it off to the grants program manager or grants team that's doing the recurring phases as a new opportunity or mission funding comes in. So you've got your grant setup, opportunity setup. So that's everything from configuring the application, the grant awards, deadlines and milestones, and getting it out there so people can start applying. Then you get to the award phase where you're really thinking about what are the decisions you need to make, what's that funding slate you're putting together for approval, who's passing all of your eligibility screens, so you can get to the point where you get that award out the door. And then you get into your post-award management phase, which we all know can be any length of time, but you're doing your contracting and tracking your budget and your milestones, and you're making sure that your budget spend down matches where you are in the life cycle of the grant, and you are just making sure that everything moves forward as planned. And then lastly, you get to your closeout, where you want to make sure you track your outcomes, button up all your documentation, archive it, and make it ready for auditing if needed in the future. So this is how we're thinking about the life cycle from a high-level view, because obviously there are more layers in here, and addressing the key challenges. And I did want to highlight for you, this is especially good feedback for me as a researcher. We spoke to a customer who got a preview like this a few weeks ago, and what I wanted to highlight about his feedback for us here is that while he had come to ServiceNow before to look for a grants management solution, he had never seen something that really went bottom up like this and talked to the people, looked at the process and the challenges they were facing, and really built that into a product perspective that will allow his team and his customers to see themselves in where we're going. So as a researcher, I can't think of better feedback to get about our product direction. And so enough about how we're getting here. I'm going to hand it to Kai, who's going to actually show you how we're solving some of these challenges in our approach. Here you go, Kai.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for that very thorough overview. So right now we're going to dive even deeper with a preview showing our grants management solution. As a product team, we are really passionate about building a solution that is intelligent, transparent, and based on people like you. Okay, so to begin, let's talk through the 4 key personas in the grants management workflow. So that is the grant applicant, the merit reviewer, the grant program manager, and the program director. So the grant applicant is an individual or an agency that is hoping to earn a grant and then use it for their goals. The merit reviewer is a subject matter expert who reviews and scores applications. They care about integrity, fairness, and efficiency. We have the grants program manager who sets up the grant program and manages it throughout its life cycle. They care about program success, efficiency, and transparency. And then last, we have that program director who is ultimately accountable for the program success. And like the grant program manager, they care about transparency, program success, as well as efficiency and compliance. And while we have 4 key personas up here, we know that there's so many more under the hood. So there's admins and specialists and finance folks all in the mix. And we've taken all of them into consideration and really making sure that we help them and help them have transparency throughout the process. So today, most agency personnel lack the holistic views needed for data-driven decision-making and compliance. Our solution with grants management helps solve this problem by supporting an intelligent, role-based transparency across multiple layers of the portfolio. So directors and above can access a funding program record that offers visibility into the grant program opportunities over the years. Program managers and higher ups will have access to the grant program record, which includes the application and award records for the opportunity. And then applicants can access all relevant information about their application, and if they're granted an award, they can see those award details. Now let's dig into it. So we'll start off with Sienna Powell, a grants program manager with a focus on climate and the environment. She wants to spend less time navigating complex systems and more time driving positive outcomes for the public. From an intelligent workspace that has been optimized for her role, Sienna has a holistic view into her grant program and can monitor all key aspects of the program, including budget, team, milestones, and more. Now let's take a look at Sienna's experience setting up a net new grant program. Sienna, thankfully, has some guided tools that makes a task that was once cumbersome easy. And as Sienna moves throughout this process, it feels intelligent and almost effortless for her. It is easy for Sienna to complete key tasks such as defining the program, drafting the announcement, and configuring the application. Moreover, before hitting that publish button, Sienna can review both the announcement and the application to make sure everything is accurate before it is made public. And this is all guided, so even if Sienna only does this once or a few times a year, she has everything she needs to be successful in the process. Now let's move on to the grant applicant experience. Alyssa Reed and Dan Baker are researchers who have discovered the grant opportunity through a portal. From an announcements page, Alyssa and Dan can assess whether the grant opportunity meets their objectives and determine whether they ultimately wish to pursue it. And once they start the application steps, they can complete those steps in any order. Auto-saving is built into the process so that they can stop and start at any time. Now let's discuss the merit reviewer experience. Joaquin is a well-renowned university professor who has been enlisted to review and score grant applications. From Joaquin's landing page on an external portal, he can review his tasks and see exactly how much time he has to complete them. He examines one of his tasks and notices that he has an opportunity to decline the review, let's say because he has a conflict of interest. He chooses to move forward and follows a scoring framework that allows him to evaluate the grant in a fair and consistent manner. And with auto-saving built in, he can start and stop at any point and has the flexibility to complete the review as needed. And once Joaquin completes his review, the system auto-calculates a total score. From here, Joaquin can submit the review digitally and move quickly on to the next task. Now let's return to Sienna, the grant's program manager. Sienna uses her workspace to take action on merit reviews. Sienna has a comprehensive view into all of the completed and in-progress merit reviews and can see the corresponding scores. With all of this information at her fingertips, Sienna has exactly what she needs to make a thorough, data-driven assessment of which grants applications to fund. She proceeds to build a funding proposal and route it to her leadership team for review and approval. Now let's discuss the director experience a bit. So Tara is a director who can use her workspace to approve and monitor grant programs. Tara can view Sienna's proposal and drill into the details as needed. When she's ready, she can select or approve to move the process forward. So this is how PSDS's grants management solution enables agencies like you to drive program outcomes with intelligence and transparency. We plan to start with the pre-award and award phases and then move out to build out the post-award and closeout phases. And ultimately, with PSDS's grants management, agencies like you will be able to solve for every stage of the grants lifecycle. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to my colleague Ryan to finish this off.
Thank you, Kai. So as you can see, lots of cool functionality coming down the line for this upcoming grants management solution. So when is this all going to be available? Well, as Kai pointed out, we are targeting May for our initial release. And as she said, we're going to be focusing on initially the pre-award and award phases of that grants management lifecycle, and then following it later on throughout the year, rounding out with the post-award and closeout phases. So with that, as you can see, we touched upon a variety of things in this solution, and clearly it helps really solve for a lot of those pain points that exist out there in that grants management lifecycle. Basically, we build the solution on a single unified data model. And again, it helps agencies just like yours achieve faster time to value by doing so. So that you're able to scale with a solution like this, unlock some of that employee productivity, all working off of a single platform. And in the meantime, making sure that you're operating in a secure and compliant environment. So I want to close this out by wrapping up and talking about, there we are, how you can help us continue along with this grants management journey. I invite you to help us shape the future of this product as we continue to round out the pre-award, award, and then ultimately post-award and close-out phases of this full life cycle. So I invite you to drop by our Public Sector Digital Services booth, talk with us, share your thoughts, share your experience, and again, be part of that journey to help shape the future of this product. So I'll pause there for any questions, and then I've got a couple of housekeeping items I want to cover at the end of the presentation. But
I don't know if I need.
yeah, you can grab the mic in the middle there if you'd like.
You're probably going to ask a question. Great presentation. Ed Arnone with the Department of Housing and Urban Development. I'm the Chief Architect there. What is your engagement with Quizmo?
Great question. We are literally working on that as we speak. We understand there's a huge need to be on the Quizmo marketplace, and we are actively working to meet those requirements, understand the process, and get through so that this product is on the Quizmo marketplace.
And within that space, just so you're tracking our initial looks, there's a gap between focusing on funding and auditing grants and the programmatics managing the grant program.
Okay.
So if that gap doesn't get addressed, agencies are going to continue to build.
Okay.
Outside of technology, they're going to go to a GOTS solution versus anything that's COTS. But great presentation. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. Cool.
He took one of my questions right off the bat. By the way, that's my boss. I'm the business transformation manager, and what we're essentially trying to do is we're dealing with several really, really old legacy systems that we're trying to bring up to speed. But one of the things that I noticed is you go through a very happy path presentation, right?
Yes.
One of the first questions that I would have is technically every grant that is offered, right, goes through grants.gov. So the view that you show to somebody who's interested, we would have to provide something. Essentially, you would have to consume that information to grants.gov to present it in a way. Is that the way that you're doing it? Because when we're talking about pre-award, right, you need to know what exactly, in the NOFO, the NOFO, the grant is uploaded, the notice is uploaded to grants.gov. As an agency, we are required to do so with very few exceptions, right? So what I saw you show is your product presenting information that goes to grants.gov. Is that what you intend to do? And that is just for competitive grants. We're having an issue. I love the way that you guys are doing, the data, the workflows, and the AI piece, because that was my second question. For formula grants, that's it's always been a huge problem, right? Because there's pockets of knowledge that you need to get to that. So what are you going to be doing with that?
Sure, I can take both questions. If you guys want to chime in, please do. So yeah, to address your first point about integration with grants.gov, again, we had about 30 minutes to get through a ton of material, so some of it we just absolutely had to leave out. One of those key pieces of information is the roadmap for this solution. It's obviously going to be built in an iterative fashion over several quarterly releases, and one of those releases is that integration with grants.gov and other feeder sites like it around the world. So yes, that is on our roadmap. It's just not part of this initial store release here in May. And then in terms of your second question around formula-based grants and other grants, you saw in Sarah's segment where she talked about the three different types of grants. Again, because this is iterative, we are purely focused on competitive grants. Now, we'll continue to roll out further and further functionality that can adhere to those other grant types as well. But Sarah, I don't know if you want to jump in with some additional research.
Not exactly additional research, but also fair to say that we are looking very closely right now at agentic AI use cases in the grants management space. So if you have perspectives on that, I would love to talk to you. That would be great.
Cool. Any other questions? All right. So just some housekeeping here at the end. Speaking of knowledge, knowledge is coming. It's scheduled for May 6th to May 8th this year. Registration is open, and I hope to see all of you there this coming May. And then last but not least, I just want to flash 3 QR codes on the screen to really help you learn a little bit more about AI. You can hear that it's a very prevalent theme throughout Federal Forum here today. So please use that QR code to learn more about AI. Second QR code is really to learn more about the variety of products we have, not just public sector digital services, but other products that are out there. And then last but not least, really just a second plug for knowledge. So if you missed it on the previous slide, you can use this QR code to get started, to learn more about knowledge and get started on your registration. So with that, I thank you guys very much for attending this session today, and hopefully you found it informative. Thank you.